Okay, everyone. I wanted to hop on here to do, as the title says, appointed times, aka feasts, a quick point for your study. And I think this is a very important subject because it's very important before the Most High that He says in His Word in Yobalim, or also known as Jubilees. I believe it is 50, I think, that we have to be mindful that we do not offer up unto Him a corrupt day for a set apart day, or a set apart day and a corrupt day. And so we're just going to be looking at quickly feasts. And the question is, can we keep feasts in our captivity? Did our people keep any of the appointed times, as they say, in captivity, in Babylon, in Assyria? And also, were any of these appointed times kept when we were brought out of Mitzrayim the first time? So let's take a quick look at Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 23. It says, "Speak unto the children of Yasharal, and say unto them, when you are come into the land which I give unto you, you shall reap the harvest thereof. Then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest." So we see here that it clearly says to us that when our forefathers came into the land, this is what they were going to do. And if you continue to read through all of it, beginning at chapter 1, as they say, in Vayikra, or also known as Leviticus, you'll see that. So let's look at Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 9, verses 2 to 5. It said, "Let the children of Yasharal also keep the Pesach at its appointed time, according to all the rites of it, and according to all the ceremonies thereof shall you keep it." And Masha spoke on the children of Yasharal that they should keep the Pesach. So what was happening here? So we see that this is the first year after our forefathers came out of Mitzrayim. They were able to still have some of the grain and stuff that was taken with them, and they were able to keep this Pesach. After this, for the next 39 years, Pesach was not kept in the wilderness, neither were any other appointed times with the exception of the Shabbat. Now this is important because remember, they're just outside the borders of the land. So in respect to time and how time would be reckoned, they were able to reckon that time. They were able to keep the Shabbat because the Shabbat was very important while they were out there. And so we're going to walk this out so we can see this clearly. Again, if you read throughout, there's nowhere that you find in anywhere that they were keeping anything other than the Shabbat of the appointed times. It says, "And they kept the Pesach on the 14th day of the first month at evening in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Yahuwah commanded Moshe. So did the children of Yasharal." So it tells you where they kept it. If we go in and we read, and we'll see that this was the first year after they had come out, right? They came out after after they walked out with their kneading bowls out of Mitzrayim, and they went out, and it said that they spoiled the Mitzrites, they took from them, and they also took food and all of this. So they had enough of grain which was necessary for them to eat the grain thereof. So the Pesach was not kept again after this until they entered into the land with Yahusha, aka Joshua. So let's read in Joshua chapter 5, verses 7 to 12. It said, "And Yahusha circumcised their sons, whom he raised up in their place. For they were uncircumcised, because they had not been circumcised on the way. And it came to be, and they had completed circumcising all the nation, that they stayed in their places in the camp till they were healed." So on the way, In other words, when they were out in the wilderness before they entered the land, they were uncircumcised. And it's very important that we understand that the circumcision was important because none of those appointed times could have been kept in the way they needed to be, in particular the Pesach, without having been circumcised. Their forefathers, the fathers of these who had entered in, walked in sin before the Most High, which is why they had to be consumed and destroyed and not to enter into the land. So we see here that as they enter in, before anything could happen at the time that they entered in, we see that it was close to Pesach time that they were all circumcised by Yahusha, aka Joshua, and to prepare themselves to be able to now keep the Pesach for the first time in the land. And it says, and Yahuwah said to Yahusha, today I have rolled away the reproach of Mitzrayim away from you. So the name of the place is called Gilgal till this day. And the children of Yasharal camped in Gilgal and performed the Pesach on the 14th day of the new moon month at evening on the desert plains of Jericho. So we see they now were able to perform the Pesach. Remember, the Most High told them that this is what you're going to do when you enter into the land. These are my appointed times. This is what you're going to do. So we see now they perform the Pesach of the new grain in the land for the first time, as the Most High had instructed that they should and would do. Yeah? So once again, as we're reading and we're walking out here, we see that the Pesach was not performed again until they entered the land after, or any of the other appointed times, until they entered the land with Joshua, with Yahusha, also known as Joshua. And it says they ate of the stored grain of the land on the morrow after the Pesach, unleavened bread and roasted grain on this same day. And the manna ceased on the day after they had eaten the stored grain of the land, and the children of Yasharal no longer had manna, for they ate of the food of the land of Canaan that year. So keep in mind, the land was called the land of Canaan, or Canaan as some would say transliterated incorrectly, because it tells us in the book of Yobelim that when the land was apportioned by Nuach, of the land that was given unto Shem, right? And so it tells us that Canaan, whose land was hot, was not happy with the portion that he was given, and he encroached into his brother's land, which was forbidden. So let's look at Shamot chapter 6, verses 3 to 5. And the children of Yasharal said to them, if only we had died in the hand by the hand of Yahuwah, in the land of Mitzrayim, when we sat by the pots of meat, and when we ate bread to satisfaction. For you have brought us into this wilderness to put all this assembly to death with hunger. Right? And it goes on to say what happened here. So they were now murmuring after they had come out, because they did not have available to them right at their fingers, their ability to cook and to do all of these great delicacies that they thought were available to them down in Mitzrayim. Of course, I just want to throw in that today, this is the same thing that's going to happen. When it's time for the Most High's people to exodus and to leave, there are many that will not leave, because they will become, their minds and stuff will be on the delicacies and stuff put before them while in Mitzrayim, aka Babylon in this day. But that's another study for another time. So we see here they're now complaining before the Most High, and so he's going to do something that will be the thing that will be they'll have available to them for the entire time that they're in the wilderness. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, see, I am raining bread from the heavens for you, And the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, in order to try them, whether they walk in my law, my Torah, or not. And it shall be on the 6th day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So we see here that the Most High said he's going to provide double the amount on the 6th day, or the day before the Shabbat or the Sabbath, so they would be able to gather enough for them to be able to have. So we see here that it's telling us that our forefathers ate of manna. This is what they were fed for the whole time they were out there. It tells us that whatever taste of whatever any person had, this is what the manna would taste like unto them, right? So if they like lamb, it would taste like lamb. If they like to eat bread with, prepared in a certain way, that's what it would taste like to each person. Whatever their taste buds or their desire was, so would it be to them. Yeah. So going back, we see that they went over, and it tells us that the manna ceased when they entered into the land. So we need to understand here and see clearly that no feast, no appointed time, with the exception of the Shabbat, was kept while our people were in the wilderness. Because this is, well, I'm saying the wilderness, were kept, yes, in the wilderness before they entered into the land of Canaan. Because this is the argument that is used to say that we should be keeping the appointed times while we're in captivity. They were not keeping it when they're in captivity, nor were they keeping it when they were down in bondage in Mitzrayim, nor were they keeping it when they were in captivity in Babylon. And we're going to walk that out in Babylon. That's going to be the next short installment of this quick point for your study. Until next time. See you on the next one.